ladies, listen closely. You don't make a man fall deeply in love with you by chasing him. You don't win his heart by sacrificing your soul. You capture the deepest parts of a man when you stand in your worth, walk in your power, and shine in your femininity. Unapologetically, man doesn't fall in love with a woman who needs him to breathe. Falls in love with a woman who chooses him, but doesn't need him. He's drawn not just to beauty, but to mystery, to authenticity, to confidence that whispers, I am whole, with or without you. The only way to get the best of an argument, George Bernard Shaw once said, is to avoid it. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's knowing your energy is too precious to waste on proving your value to someone who should already see it. Confidence is magnetic. It's the silent force that speaks before you say a word. It's not about being loud or demanding attention. It's not about how you dress or how many compliments you receive. Real confidence, the kind that makes a man fall deeply in love, comes from a quiet, unshakable belief in your own worth. A man doesn't fall in love with the woman who tries the hardest to please him. He falls in love with the woman who doesn't need to. The woman who knows who she is, knows what she brings to the table, and doesn't apologize for it. She walks in grace. She moves with certainty. And she never begs for what should be freely given. When you're confident in who you are, you don't chase validation. You don't need a man to tell you you're beautiful, valuable, or worthy. You've already told yourself that, and you believe it. That kind of energy shifts everything. It sets a tone. A man can feel it, even if you never say it out loud. He knows he's in the presence of a woman who doesn't settle, doesn't shrink, and doesn't compromise your identity just to fit into someone else's world. Confidence is being okay with being misunderstood. Not everyone will get you. Not every man will appreciate you, but the one who's meant to will. And until then, you're not waiting. You're living. You're building your life, chasing your goals, nurturing your growth, and protecting your peace. You're not waiting to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. A confident woman doesn't compete with other women. She doesn't gossip, compare, or tear others down. She knows that her light doesn't dim anyone else's. She celebrates herself without shame. And she celebrates others without envy. That energy makes her unforgettable. It makes her trustworthy. It makes her the kind of woman a man can admire, not just for her looks or her charm, but for her essence. When you are rooted in confidence, your presence feels different. You don't have to be the loudest in the room. You don't have to prove anything. You become calm, intentional, and graceful. You move in a way that says, I know my value. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to live it. Confidence also means not lowering your standards just to keep a man. If he doesn't call, you don't panic. If he pulls away, you don't chase. You don't twist yourself into a version of what you think he wants. Because you know, if he doesn't want you as you are, he's not the one. And that doesn't shake you. You don't beg, plead, or perform. You release him with peace, knowing what's meant for you can't be threatened. That kind of detachment is powerful. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself enough to walk away from what isn't mutual. That alone commands respect. A man may not even understand why he's drawn to you, but he is. Because your energy feels different. He feels safe, yet challenged. He feels admired, yet inspired to rise. He sees in you a woman who could stand beside him, but never beneath him. Confidence is also about authenticity. You don't fake emotions to get attention. You don't play games. You're honest about your feelings, but you don't weaponize them. You know vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength with boundaries. You're willing to love deeply, but you won't lose yourself doing it. You're soft, but not naive. Open, but not desperate. In love, confidence means knowing that you're a prize, not in a superficial way, but in a deep, soul-centered way. You're the kind of woman who brings peace, wisdom, and light into a man's life. But only if he's worthy. Only if he brings the same. Because you're not here to fix anyone, prove anything, or save anyone from themselves. You're here to build something real, with someone who shows up with clarity and consistency. You don't need to convince him. You're too focused on becoming the best version of yourself. A man falls in love with a woman like that, not because she tries to make him, but because she lives in such a way that he can't help but see her value. He watches how she treats herself, how she moves when no one's watching, how she doesn't tolerate disrespect, how she keeps rising even when life knocks her down. That's what leaves a mark on him. That's what makes her unforgettable. So remember this, you don't have to chase love, you become it. You live it. You radiate it. And when you do, the right man will see it. Not because you begged him to, but because he was finally ready to recognize a woman who had already recognized herself. And that, more than anything, is what makes him fall deeply in love. When it comes to love, one of the most powerful things you can do is protect your emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries are the invisible lines that define what you will and will not tolerate, what you will allow into your heart, and how you expect to be treated. They are not walls that keep people out. They are filters that protect your peace, your energy, and your self-worth. And when you master them, you become emotionally powerful. You stop being reactive and stop being intentional. That's what draws a man in deeper. Not just physical attraction, but emotional respect. Men fall deeply for women who love themselves enough to say, this is who I am and this is what I deserve. That kind of self-respect creates space for a deeper connection. It shows him you're not just a woman who wants love. You're a woman who requires healthy, mutual, intentional love. And that changes everything. Weak emotional boundaries lead to overgiving, over-explaining, over-apologizing. You begin to betray yourself little by little. You tolerate the late texts, the mixed signals, the emotional unavailability, all in the name of being understanding or low maintenance. But let's be clear. Understanding doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. Being emotionally intelligent doesn't mean you become emotionally disposable. When you abandon your boundaries, you abandon yourself. And the moment you do that, you lose the very thing that makes you attractive in the first place, your self-worth. A man might be physically attracted to someone who gives him constant access, but he falls in love with a woman who has standards. She doesn't play games, but she doesn't tolerate them either. She doesn't demand love, but she doesn't settle for confusion. She's not rude or cold, but she is clear. And clarity is rare. In a world full of people trying to impress, trying to earn love, trying to become what others want, clarity stands out. It makes a man take notice. It challenges him to rise or step aside. A woman with strong emotional boundaries knows that not every connection is meant to go deep. She doesn't force relationships. She doesn't chase potential. She lets people show her who they are, and she believes them the first time. That kind of discernment is powerful. It doesn't come from bitterness. It comes from wisdom. It comes from understanding that love isn't about possession, it's about alignment. And alignment can't happen if you're constantly bending to fit someone else's dysfunction. When you have emotional boundaries, you don't need constant reassurance. You don't need someone to text you 24/7 or validate your every move. Because you're not operating from lack. You're operating from fullness. You have a life, a purpose, a mission beyond romance. And that makes your presence a gift, not a transaction. A man falls deeply when he sees that your life is already whole. And any love he gives is adding to your joy, not filling a void. Boundaries are also essential for cultivating trust. When a man knows you respect your own emotional space, he can trust that you'll respect his too. He feels safe. He knows he doesn't have to perform to earn your love, but he also knows he can't neglect it either. That balance builds real intimacy. You're not clinging to him. You're inviting him into your world with open eyes and open arms. And he's not falling in love with your desperation. He's falling in love with your dignity. And yes, there will be moments when you'll have to walk away from someone you deeply care about. There will be times when your heart wants to stay, but your boundaries say, this isn't love. This is pain in disguise. Those moments are hard. They require strength, discipline, and self-trust. But they're also defining moments, because every time you honor your boundaries, you reinforce your worth. And every time you do that, you become more powerful, more radiant, more irresistible. The truth is, a man can only love you as deeply as you love yourself. If you allow disrespect, neglect, or emotional games, you're teaching him how to treat you. But when you draw the line, calmly, confidently, and consistently, you teach him that your heart is sacred. And if he wants access to it, he must come with honor. Boundaries also make your love more meaningful. When you do give your time, your affection, your vulnerability, it means something. It's not scattered or desperate. It's intentional. A man can feel the difference between a woman who gives out of fear and a woman who gives from abundance. One drains him, the other inspires him. So don't be afraid to say, no, I won't tolerate that. Don't be afraid to say, this doesn't feel good to me. Don't be afraid to walk away when the energy isn't being matched. Your heart is not a charity. It's not something to be picked apart until there's nothing left. Your heart is a treasure. A man should feel honored to hold it, and he will, if you treat it that way first. Emotional boundaries are the foundation of real love. They are not about control, they're about respect. They're not about pushing people away, they're about attracting the right ones. And a man who is truly ready for love won't run from your standards. He will rise to meet them. Because the woman who respects herself is the woman a real man falls deeply for. Not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. A man doesn't fall deeply in love with a woman who chases him, fixes him, or constantly proves her worth. He falls in love with a woman who inspires him, quietly, powerfully, and effortlessly. The woman who shows him by how she lives and how she carries herself that there is more to become, more to build, and more to reach for. She doesn't drag him toward growth. She simply walks in her own evolution, and that movement stirs something deep within him. Chasing a man doesn't make him love you. If anything, it repels him. Men are wired to pursue, to earn, to step up. When you take on the role of the pursuer, the fixer, or the emotional caretaker too early, you disrupt the natural balance of connection. You become his mother, his rescuer, his therapist, but not his partner. And while he may appreciate the attention in the short term, he won't fall deeply for someone who removes the very need for him to rise. Inspiration, on the other hand, is subtle. It's not loud, it's not desperate, it's not manipulative, it's a reflection of your own inner work. A man sees how you move, how you speak with intention, how you treat yourself with respect, how you pursue your passions with fire, and something inside him begins to shift. You don't need to preach or pressure. Your example becomes the message. Your self-mastery becomes the mirror. And the man, if he's ready, will look into that mirror and say, I want to become the man who deserves this kind of woman. Inspiring a man is not about pretending to be perfect. It's about being real. It's about showing up in your truth, your growth, and your peace. It's about having your own life, your own goals, and your own vision. You're not waiting around for someone to give your life meaning. You've already found it. That independence is magnetic. It creates a kind of emotional tension, not the toxic kind that comes from games, but the powerful kind that comes from purpose. A man falls deeply for the woman who helps him see the king inside himself, not by demanding it, but by expecting it. You don't accept inconsistency, not because you're hard to please, but because you know that love is not something you beg for. You don't reward potential, you respond to action. That standard alone is transformative. It teaches a man that your love is sacred, and it must be earned with effort, not empty promises. The truth is, men long to be inspired. They long for someone who makes them want to become more without making them feel like they're not enough. That's a delicate balance, and a rare one. When a woman inspires rather than fixes, she becomes a source of strength, not stress. She becomes someone a man confides in, not hides from. Someone who challenges him to rise, not someone who tolerates his complacency. The woman who inspires a man doesn't tell him what to do with his life. She simply lives hers with so much purpose and direction that he starts to reevaluate his own. She doesn't nag him to step up. She quietly steps forward, and he feels the distance. And if he's the right man, he'll close that distance, not with words, but with growth. Inspiration also comes from emotional stability. A man falls for the woman who doesn't crumble in the face of uncertainty. She may feel fear, pain, or disappointment, but she doesn't allow those emotions to control her. She responds rather than reacts. She speaks truth with grace. She disagrees with strength and walks away with dignity when needed. That kind of emotional control is rare and deeply attractive. Tells a man, you're dealing with someone who leads herself. And if you want to stand beside her, you must lead yourself too. To inspire a man, you have to believe in him, but not more than he believes in himself. Your belief should be an invitation, not a crutch. You're not here to carry him through life. You're not here to drag him into his potential. You're here to walk with him, shoulder to shoulder, if he's willing to walk at your level. If he's not, you don't lower your pace, you don't shrink, you don't beg. You keep walking in your life. Trust that the right man will either rise to meet you or step aside for the one who will. Inspiration isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. The woman who lives with passion, grace, and boundaries doesn't have to convince a man to love her. She becomes the one he remembers, the one who awakens something in him that no one else ever could. Not because she gave everything to him, but because she gave everything to herself, and then invited him to do the same. That is how you make a man fall deeply in love. Not by fixing him, not by chasing him, but by becoming the kind of woman he can't ignore. A woman who stands so firmly in her value that a man either grows to keep up or watches her walk away with her head held high. And if he's truly ready for love, not just attention or affection, but real soul-level connection, he'll rise. Not because you begged him to, but because you inspired him to. There's something deeply powerful about emotional safety. It's not something loud, flashy, or dramatic. It's quiet, steady, and often unspoken. But for a man to truly fall in love, not just lust, not just attraction, but deep, lasting, soul-level love, he needs to feel emotionally safe. He needs to know that when he opens up, when he takes off the mask he wears with the world, he won't be judged, shamed, or made to feel small. He needs to know that he can be seen fully and honestly and still be respected. Men are taught from a young age to be strong, to hide emotion, to solve problems and keep moving. They often carry silent burdens, unspoken fears, unresolved pain, insecurities they never mention out loud. So, when a man finds a woman who offers him emotional safety, it feels like a home he never knew he was searching for. And once he finds it, he won't want to let it go. Creating emotional safety doesn't mean fixing his problems or being a constant cheerleader. It means holding space for him. It means listening, not just hearing his words, but listening with your heart. When he shares something vulnerable, your job is not to offer immediate solutions or compare it to your own pain. It's to be still, to acknowledge his courage, and to say with your presence, I see you, and I'm not going anywhere. That doesn't mean you allow disrespect or carry his emotional baggage. You can be soft without being a doormat. Emotional safety is not about being agreeable all the time. It's about creating a space where truth is welcome, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about responding, not reacting. It's about staying grounded in moments of tension and choosing curiosity over criticism. Then open up slowly. For many of them, vulnerability feels risky. They've learned to measure their worth by their achievements, their strengths, their control, but deep inside, they long for a place where they can exhale, a place where they don't have to perform, a place where they don't have to perform, a place where their fears, doubts, and dreams can be spoken without fear of being used against them. When you become that space, not by force but by presence, you become unforgettable. Emotional safety is built through trust, and trust takes time. It grows in the little moments, how you respond when he tells you something hard, how you speak about others behind their backs, how consistent your words are with your actions. When a man sees that you are emotionally stable, he starts to let down his guard. And the more he lets down his guard, the deeper his love becomes. A woman who offers emotional safety knows how to manage her own emotions. She doesn't let insecurity or fear drive her reactions. She knows when to speak and when to listen. She understands that timing is everything. Not every conversation needs to be solved in the moment. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say, I'm here. Take your time. That kind of patience is rare, and it creates trust on a level that goes beyond words. This kind of connection doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. It comes from letting go of the need to be right, the need to win, the need to constantly prove your value. It comes from confidence in your own worth and knowing that the right man will recognize it without you having to scream it. Emotional safety says, I'm not perfect and I don't expect you to be either, but I'm committed to growing and I invite you to do the same. And when you embody that, a man feels something different around you. He feels peace. He feels strength without pressure. He starts to associate you with comfort, clarity, and calm. In a world that constantly demands more from him, you become the one place where he can just be, and that is powerful. But emotional safety also means having your own boundaries. It means knowing that holding space for someone doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or emotional immaturity. You can be loving and firm. You can say, I care about you, but I won't allow this behavior. You can stand in your truth while still offering grace. That balance of empathy and strength is what makes a man not only respect you, but cherish you. Sometimes the most attractive thing you can offer a man is peace, not silence, not submission, not perfection, just peace. The kind of peace that says, you don't have to be a superhero with me. You can be human, you can be honest, you can be real. That's what makes him fall, not just for your beauty, but for your soul. And when he finds that with you, he'll protect it, he'll guard it, he'll fight for it. Because emotional safety isn't something men come across every day. And once they do, they know they found someone rare, someone worth building with, someone worth staying for. Not because you forced love to happen, but because you created the space for love to grow. There is something magnetic about a woman who knows who she is. Not a woman who is trying to be everything for everyone. Not someone who is constantly shifting to fit in, but a woman who is rooted, grounded in her values, her truth, and her identity. A man doesn't fall deeply for a woman who loses herself in the relationship. He falls for the woman who keeps her essence intact, no matter how deeply she loves. And that's what owning your identity is all about. Never abandoning yourself for the sake of being chosen. When you truly own your identity, you move differently, you speak with clarity, you set boundaries without guilt. You show up in the relationship with confidence, not arrogance, but certainty. You're not seeking validation because you already know your worth. That kind of self-assurance doesn't come from how many compliments you get or how many men want you. It comes from doing the inner work. It comes from knowing your strengths, owning your flaws, healing your wounds, and embracing your story. Men are naturally drawn to authenticity. They may be entertained by appearance or impressed by charm, but what keeps a man invested long-term is depth. A woman who knows herself is refreshing, because in a world where so many people are performing, pretending, pleasing, she's real. She doesn't fake interest. She doesn't force a connection. She doesn't become what she thinks a man wants. She simply becomes more of who she already is. And that is rare. When a woman owns her identity, she's not afraid to be misunderstood. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't beg to be seen. She knows that the right man will recognize her, not because she screams her value, but because she lives it. She knows that compatibility is not about changing herself to be liked. It's about standing in her truth and seeing who is strong enough to stand beside her. This level of self-awareness also sets the tone in the relationship. A woman who knows who she is won't entertain confusion. She won't tolerate games. She's not afraid of being alone because she enjoys her own company. She doesn't chase potential because she values what is real. She's not impressed by surface-level attention. She craves something deeper, something lasting, something that aligns with her purpose. And a man feels that. He knows she's not just looking for a boyfriend. She's inviting a partner. And only a man who's ready to lead himself will be ready to meet her there. Owning your identity also means not shrinking. Too many women dim their light when they fall in love. They downplay their ambitions, they soften their voice, they give up parts of themselves to keep the peace. But the truth is, real love doesn't require you to shrink. It requires you to expand, to become even more of who you are, not less. A man who's truly ready for love doesn't want a watered-down version of you. He wants the full, vibrant, unfiltered you. And the moment you give yourself permission to be that woman, you give him permission to rise and meet you there. Your identity is your anchor. It keeps you steady in storms. It keeps you from attaching your value to how a man feels about you on any given day. It reminds you that you were whole before he came, and you'll be whole if he leaves. That kind of emotional independence is powerful. It doesn't make you cold. It makes you trustworthy. It tells a man, I'm not here because I need you to complete me. I'm here because I choose you. And that choice is rooted in strength, not desperation. When you own your identity, you stop asking, what can I do to make him love me? And start asking, does this connection honor the woman I've worked so hard to become? That shift changes everything. It puts you in a place of power, not over him, but over your own heart. It allows you to engage in love with your eyes wide open, your boundaries intact, and your spirit at peace. Men fall deeply for the woman who challenges them without disrespecting them. The woman who calls them higher just by being herself. The woman who speaks truth with grace and walks away when her peace is compromised. That woman doesn't have to beg to be loved. She doesn't have to prove her worth. She is the worth. And that's the key. The more you love yourself, the more you attract a love that mirrors that back to you. The man who is truly ready will not be intimidated by your strength, your voice, or your light. He will be drawn to it. He will protect it. He will rise with it. Because when a man sees a woman who owns her identity fully and unapologetically, he knows she's not just a partner, she's a force that will either elevate him or leave him behind, and if he's wise, he'll choose to rise. A man doesn't fall deeply in love with a woman because she constantly gives sacrifices and proves her devotion. He falls deeply when he feels valued, when he knows that who he is, not just what he does, is seen, respected, and appreciated. When he feels like more than just a provider, more than just a role, more than just a name in her life. Men may appear strong on the outside, but on the inside they are human, vulnerable, insecure, and silently longing for someone who sees their worth, even when they're not at their best. Making a man feel valued isn't about grand gestures or flattery. It's about the small, consistent ways you show him he matters. It's in how you look at him when he walks in the room. It's in how you speak about him to others. It's in how you respond when he opens up, takes a risk, or makes a mistake. A man is most drawn to the woman who makes him feel safe. But he falls deeply for the woman who makes him feel significant. This doesn't mean worshiping him or placing him on a pedestal. It means seeing his efforts and acknowledging them. It means saying, I see how hard you're trying, even when he falls short. It means letting him know that his presence, not just his paycheck or performance, is meaningful to you. Every man wants to feel like his love has an impact, that his efforts to show up, protect, provide, and care are not invisible. When a man feels seen in this way, his heart softens, his guard lowers. He wants to give more, not because he has to, but because he wants to. Appreciation is one of the deepest emotional needs a man has, and it's often overlooked. In relationships, especially over time, it's easy to start expecting things. You expect him to fix the car, plan the date, carry the load. And when he does, it's met with silence, not because you don't care, but because it's become routine. But men don't just want to be useful, they want to feel honored. A simple thank you with sincerity, a moment of genuine praise, a quiet hug that says, you matter to me, can reach places no physical attraction ever could. To make a man feel valued is to believe in him, even when he doubts himself. This doesn't mean ignoring his flaws or enabling bad habits. It means holding a vision of his potential and reminding him of it when he forgets. It means speaking life into his dreams and offering support that feels like partnership, not pressure. When a man knows you believe in him, not because you're blind, but because you see what he's capable of, he rises. He wants to become better, not out of obligation, but out of inspiration. Respect plays a huge role in this. For men, love without respect feels hollow. You may say you love him, but if you constantly belittle his decisions, talk down to him, or compare him to others, he won't feel loved. He'll feel diminished. Making a man feel valued means allowing him to lead in his own way, even when it looks different than yours. It means disagreeing without demeaning. It means recognizing that strength looks different in every man, and honoring the unique way he shows up in the world. Men fall deeply for the woman who admires them, not blindly, but intentionally, who notices the little things, who compliments his character, not just his looks, who tells him she's proud, not just when he succeeds, but when he tries. This kind of woman becomes rare, especially in a culture that often focuses on what men fail to do. When a man finds someone who doesn't just focus on his faults, but sees the goodness in his core, he doesn't forget it. He feels safe enough to grow and strong enough to love deeply. But this goes both ways. You can't truly make a man feel valued if you don't value yourself, if you give out of emptiness. If you seek love by constantly overgiving, it becomes a transaction, not a connection. True appreciation must come from fullness, not lack. You value him best when you're also valuing yourself. When you know your worth, you don't overextend. You give from a place of joy, not fear. You don't settle for crumbs, but you celebrate every piece of real effort. That balance is what makes your appreciation feel genuine, not needy. In the end, a man doesn't need perfection. He needs presence. He needs to feel like he matters, not just to the world, but to you. And when he feels that deep in his bones, he opens up in ways he never has. He starts planning a future with you, not because you ask, but because you made him feel like the kind of man who deserves to build something beautiful. That's when he falls, not for what you give him, but for how you make him feel about himself. And when a man feels truly valued, he doesn't just love you, he cherishes you. He protects you. He commits to you, not out of obligation, but out of overflowing affection. Because in you he found not just a partner, but a mirror of his best self. And that kind of connection doesn't fade, it deepens every single day.